So when we think about skin, some of the things and the obvious pieces of information, I say obvious, but maybe for some people they're not that obvious. One of the pieces of information that we all hear or have a lot about is the skin being the largest organ on the body, and also the skin in terms of really to help us detox, so sweating out any excess water or chemicals, substances, is one of the things that it does to help clear and detox the body. And also the skin as a protection, so the skin is a barrier to stop external things getting into the system. So whether it's excess sunshine, so the skin acts as a barrier. So yes, it can absorb vitamin D very nicely, as we can see here from the sunshine, but equally foreign objects are unable to. The skin acts as a barrier to penetrate them. So that's something else in terms of the skin. What else and how else does the skin protect us? Well, I want us to think a moment about just what the skin is made up of. So often we think of the skin as being something that's external, which it is. But we've got a nice sunny day here today, and actually the temperature or humidity, there is a little bit of a wind, but it feels quite dry in terms of the humidity. So what? What does that mean when it comes to our skin? Well, what I find really interesting is that I feel the cold quite often. So for me, this lovely sunshine is glorious. But actually, if I consider even putting my hand on my face, my hands actually feel quite cold. And as you can see, glorious sunshine. Zoe has a t-shirt and I have like a fleecy layer. And it's like, what is that about? It's like, aren't you hot in that? And my response is like, no, I have low blood pressure. And if you've got a lower blood pressure, then actually that blood circulation and the circling round, and again the blood has to get to the skin. So there's another piece of the puzzle, is body temperature regulation and the skin. But anyway, coming back to the surface of the skin, is that our skin is actually porous. So when we have, this is the point that I'm getting to, when we have like sunshine and we have the dry humidity, then actually the ability or those pores actually remain more closed. So the skin has closed, that's my pores. The skin has less penetration. So our ability to stay warm or regulate or the impact of other things intruding is less. And then over here in the UK, we have a lot of damp, wet climate, grey, cold. So particularly if you consider those characteristics, so damp, wet, cold, in relation to the external, well actually when things are damp, think of when you put water or even a wet, moist tissue onto the skin. When we have moisture coming in contact with the skin, then actually it opens up. So actually you then have more openness to the pores. And if you've got the pores are much more open, think sweat as well, open pores, because they're opening to let out that excess water. When we have more openness through the pores, then we have more penetration. So if the pores are more open and then I've got that cold, damp climate, then the ability for that cold damp to get past my layer of skin through to like blood circulation and the rest of my body is a factor. Traditional Chinese medicine, so cold and damp and wind are key pathologies and key elements that they look at when it comes to health. Cold and damp are part of like feminine and also yin yang. So rather than thinking, oh, cold and damp, no, it's like, yeah, you kind of need a bit of cold and damp, But if you have cold and damp in excess or for too long or stagnant, then that's where we get an imbalance with poor health. So it's too much time spent in those cold, damp climates. Think of your plant. So if you think of a plant or a seed, if it's been particularly cold, then how easy is it going to be for that seed to kind of sprout and grow into whatever plant or vegetable that it needs to go into? If it's there under the ground, damp, and we've had loads and loads of wet, then and there hasn't been the sunshine and the heat to kind of dry out the moisture, then that seed often goes rotten and then starts decaying. So there's more of environment in nature because of the prolonged time of excess damp in the soil, for example, and then the seed then starts to rot and decay. But then when the seed rots and decays, it then provides nutrients for the soil and for animals. So that reason that I'm saying that is because that just gives you an idea of, it's not a right or a wrong or a good or bad. It's like, okay, well, where is it in the cycle of things? And then where do you want to be? What do you need to either stop or discontinue that cycle or bring in? So we want to bring in some more heat, so that we can not have so much dampness in the soil. How does that relate to your body? Well, think about when we've had warm or cool or cold climates. Do you and your body prefer it when it's hot but kind of there's more moisture in the air? In which case that heat can kind of radiate and get right down to a bone level, or like for me in winter, or just when it's cold, when it's kind of often below a certain temperature, then I just don't feel cold on the surface. It's like that cold goes bone deep, and we often have sayings that relate to that kind of depth of chill factor happening. And the barrier, coming back to the point of our talk, the barrier and what helps us to be able to either stay warm, be protected, is our skin. So next time you're washing your hands, be it in hot or cold water, or moisturizing them, just want you to take a moment and think about all the things that your skin does to support, protect, and help you.